Alright, this is a game on the Object 907, the Tier 10 premium reward tank from the 3rd Clan Wars. It's a lot like all the other Tier 10 Russian mediums. It's a little bit shorter in terms of its height. It's about the same handling characteristics. The gun characteristics are somewhere between the 430 and the T62. It's a pretty good, it's a pretty decent. It doesn't really play that much differently than all the other Russian mediums. And so we're on Himmelsdorf Encounter, and so on Himmelsdorf Encounter, well, we still want to play the center west, particularly from the north spawn. On standard mode on Himmelsdorf, I generally like going out to the 1, 2, 3 line. On Encounter mode, the first thing I try to do is try to find out how much of their team is headed over, and you can see a lot of that from going over to the down to the D line, and that gives you a good idea of what's going to happen there. Generally, on your pubs will go to the hill, so the hill is generally pretty well covered. So it's a matter of finding weaknesses on the rest of the map, and that's really what we're going to look for here. So there's no artillery. You can just go and sit in this window, see if we can see anything. We know that they have a few guys on the hill as well. We've got a couple guys in Tank Alley, 2 big guns, the FE-183 and a Foch. And so it's just a matter of waiting. So we did send a bat chat out to the 1-2 line with the T-71 on the 1390. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. We expect the major confrontation to occur on the hill, and it's a matter of taking care of business down here and making sure that our hill guys don't get flanked around the outside of the church, which is where I'm going to go look right now. So what I want to do when I slide down here, I just want to spot up to where that waffle is, and I can get shots, and I can use these buildings essentially as cover here. And then see how we have an E5 sneaking around that bottom there? So he's going to be occupying the waffle, so I'll be able to get shots on the waffle as well. And so we see they do have a few guys in the west side, the IS-8, and a couple light tanks. It's not that bad considering what we have. They have a T-54 on that G line. We pushed down the 8 line a little bit, arguably a little bit overextended. So we see that their FE-183 is still in the base, but he's going to get good shots at our guy like our Foch down there. So that's something that we have to keep an eye on. So those guys are going to get pressure on the 8 line. Our Roomba is too far back to help those guys. This T-54 is a little bit ISO'd, so I'm going to try to see if I can put some pressure on him from this side. He's shooting up at our guys on the hill. And I thought he still might be reloading, but apparently he just finished reloading. And so there's still that T-71 IS-8 down in the middle, but we've got their guys up on the hill. But we've got a little bit better position on their guys on the hill, just because we've got control of both of the corners, and that allows them to get potentially flanking shots. And of course their E4 is shooting HE, so he actually did a pretty good amount of damage for an HE shell, but what are you going to do? They're starting to counter push up the 8 line. So our bat chat is still sitting in the back. He's still in like that C1 area, and he's headed north. So he's basically abandoning this west side, which is fine because they're not really pressuring this west side. They have their bat chat down in that corner as well potentially. So it's not going to be safe for me to hang out here. So they've already started pushing up the 8 line, so and it looks like we're starting to encapsulate up on the hill. So it's probably better to pull back, to sacrifice this 1, 2, 3 line, and give them an opportunity if they want to press. But there's no reason for us to stay here as long as they're just going to camp in the back here. So we still have an opportunity to win the hill. So we're weak on this D line. We've got a bunch of guys without a whole lot of strength. Pretty much everybody there is one shot. The Roomba's at 162. The 1390 is still at full health, and the bat chat is one shot. So we know that they have a couple full health tank destroyers down there. So it's not something that those guys are going to want to push through. So if we hold this D line and we go up to the hill, we should be able to take the hill, help those guys wrap up the hill, and then we can come back down in force and attack the guys that they have left. So you'll notice that they have 3 distinct pockets of enemies, right? They have 2 guys on the hill, 2 guys on the G line, and 2 guys in the southwest. So what you want to do is you want to attack those pockets first. Ideally, you want to attack the weakest pocket first, which is those guys on the hill. But see how our guys that were in the middle started pushing into these tank destroyers? This is the strongest part of their defense. Right? They got 2 full health tank destroyers, and you've got 2 one-shot tanks and a 1390. So I saw them pushing in as I was headed up to the hill, and so I can't let their sacrifice be, you know, essentially for nothing. I have to try to go and take one of these tank destroyers out. The good news is that both of these tank destroyers have limited turrets, and so as long as I get behind them, then I can potentially be safe from them. So you always want to take out guns. And you see their batch hat got on cap, right? Their IS-8's down. He's headed northeast through J2. Our guys on the hill now look like they're losing. If the batch hat and I had gone up there, we might have been able to save that and then come back for their other 2 tank destroyers. But that's okay. So this batch hat is pushing this 1390, so I need to move its position over to get this 1390, and I accidentally run into this IS-8. Wouldn't recommend that. And then the batch hat just reloaded, and he's starting to push the 1390. And he's a little bit oblivious because I'm one shot to him, and I just need to make sure these guys on top of the hill aren't going to shoot me while I'm out here. While I'm missing the batch hat. And so 1390 is able to finish off the batch hat, which leaves those 2 guys on the hill, which we know have low health, right? The Waffle's got 29 health, and the T-57 has 213. So not only are they both one shot to me, they're both one shot to the 1390. Well, if the 1390 gets a reasonable roll in a shell, I think the average damage on the 1390 shell is like 240 or something like that. And so in encounter mode, there's no real reason to put cap pressure on in this particular situation. Those guys are going to have to come off the hill. So we want to see which way they're going to come from. Our 1390's got like 614 health, which means he can really take a shot from either of those guys. So it's just a matter of me making sure that I'm not the first one that gets shot at. Now, I think that the T-57 Heavy is going to cross over either on the C or the D line, so that's where I'm going to focus my shot. And I want to make sure that my tank is out of range of the G line, because I don't want to get shot from the G line. And so I see the T-57 when I accidentally bounce him, and then I'll be able to have a shot through this window, but the 1390 blocks my shot there. I don't. It happens. It's unfortunate because I might have been able to finish off T-57. So you see how the T-57 has moved out west towards that D line. So as long as the Waffle's not coming around behind us, I'm going to be able to catch that guy if he pushes forward. And it certainly looks like he did because he had already moved south into that D1 area. So all I have to do is just get set up here and make sure that I don't bounce him like on the previous shot. And so we're able to take him out essentially for free. And so right now, what we really need is for the 1390 to just press and find the other guy. So it's just a matter of figuring out where the Waffle is, and if one of us dies, that's fine, as long as the other one just finishes the job. And so in this situation, that's why I want to stay close to him, as close as possible. This Waffle is trying to snipe him through the window, so he's able to take him out. And so we had to drive pretty much all over this map to win this game. But one of the few things that I want to talk about is that, most of our team went to the hill, which is typical in Himmelsdorf encounter, but you still need to cover this outside over here. They ended up sending enough guys into the field that our field guys didn't feel comfortable pushing, and that's fine. As long as you hold this D line, similar to them holding this G line, you're able to protect the upper castle area. Like I was able to shoot their Waffle, they were able to shoot our T-57 or E-5 or whatever it was up there. I forget offhand. And sort of once you secure the area, though, you want to be able to push across and take out those pockets. You want to clear out that G line if you can, especially that FE-183 was pretty far back. You know, he probably initially had come over to the 3 line, and then he sort of went back through the base once our team pushed down the 8 line. And so once we were able to take that guy out, we established control of the G line. There wasn't really any need for us to push down into this 1-2-3 into their Batchat IS-8, and I think they still had a light at that time, especially since our Batchat was leaving at that point. We had an opportunity to win the hill, so I just started head back and go to support the hill. But at that point is when our weak guys YOLO'd into their 2 full health tank destroyers, and then I changed course and came down to support that because I didn't want that to be in vain. And as it turned out, we were able to take out both of the tank destroyers, somewhat luckily. And that basically erased that pocket. But ideally what I would have liked to do is for us to hold this D line with that Roomba and the 1390, and basically, you know, the tanks that were chasing them, right? The FE-183 that was hanging out on that 8 line along with the E4, they're not going to be able to catch up to a 1390. And so you just let them chase you around. And in the meantime, that Batchat and I could have cleared off the rest of the hill. And then we would have still had our, you know, our hill team, and then we could have come down in strength. Instead of attacking the strongest, you know, isolated pair first, we should have attacked the weakest isolated pair and then, you know, gone on from there. But that's not sort of how it worked out. But that's sort of how I think that you should look at those types of breakdowns, you know, in that mid to late game, particularly if you've got a reasonable amount of health. Look at where the weak pockets are, where your team is, you know, how, you know, we had an opportunity where we could have saved those guys up on the hill, you know, and it would have cost us nothing if we had played conservative enough on the D line. But because those D line guys pushed, I made the decision to change to try to make that loss somewhat meaningful. And so if we look at the stats, we ended up doing a lot of damage. Again, you know, most of the damage done in medium tanks is done if you reposition and you get shots on people who, you know, don't really have an opportunity to shoot back at you, or at least not that efficiently. From that D line, we were able to get shots up on these guys on the hill, you know, and you put them in a situation that's sort of uncomfortable for them and easy for you. So we were able to do 4,700 damage just from a lot of driving around, and some of that was once we pushed the 2 tank destroyers, we really started to clean up that side as well, and that sort of allowed us to be in that situation in the end where it's basically a 2-on-2. Their T-57 pushed forward a little bit too far ahead of the Waffle. When you're in that situation when you're basically 2 one-shot tanks, you want to be relatively close together. That's something that's the reason why I stayed relatively close to our 1390, because if one person gets pushed, then, you know, the other person should be able to be in a position to support. So that's what we're really looking for those types of games. So I hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching.